Military drones. Those contracts. How this works. Headline NBC New York. Hochul signs sweeping anti-ICE protections in New York, expanding rights for immigrants and students. New York Governor Kathy Hochul signed a sweeping immigration package. Now, let's just start here. Governors can't sign immigration packages. Governors have nothing to do with immigration. Zero. Zilch. They can't do anything about it under the Constitution. Not the Democrats give a flying F what the Constitution actually says, but whatever. Designed to shield New Yorkers from what she called aggressive federal immigration enforcement, creating some of the strongest state-level protections in the nation. The measures included in the fiscal 2027 budget seek to limit cooperation between local agencies and ICE, strengthen constitutional protections. What constitutional protections? What part of the Constitution says you can be here illegally? What part? Zero. Nothing. Nada. Zilch. Nothing. Okay? And keep immigration enforcement away from schools, hospitals, shelters, and other sensitive locations. Blatant abuses of power by ICE will not be tolerated in New York, Hochul said, while announcing the legislation. The legislation prohibits state and local law enforcement agencies from entering into 287G agreements or similar arrangements that allow local officers to perform federal civil immigration enforcement duties. The law also bars local governments from helping fund immigration detention centers, restricts zoning changes, including intended to facilitate detention facilities without public input, keeps local resources focused on public safety rather than immigration enforcement. Exceptions include medical masks, tactical safety equipment, and sunglasses. Okay. So, anyone in law enforcement in New York want to jump on here and explain this to me? How that's going to work? Let's say ICE agents roll up to do an arrest in New York City, and they're wearing masks. Who is going to place them under arrest? We've now passed a state law that says you can't wear a mask in the state of New York. Now, I can tell you, because I've seen them in Times Square, the NYPD officers wear masks. Who is going to place these ICE agents under arrest? And what if they resist? Resisting arrest is illegal. You're going to place a federal officer enforcing federal law. And the last time I checked, schools, hospitals, courthouses are within the jurisdiction of the United States of America, which means federal agents have jurisdiction. A governor cannot tell a federal agent you don't have jurisdiction. Their jurisdiction is federal. That is all of the 50 states and the commonwealths of the United States. So how's that going to work? Newly legal accountability for federal agents. The legislation creates a state legal pathway allowing New Yorkers to sue federal officials for alleged violations of constitutional rights. Are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure? Because what's going to happen if there's a Gavin Newsom administration? If Newsom and AOC wins a ticket, they've got the House and the Senate, they pass a sweeping gun control law, a confiscation. They say, okay, well, now we're set. Now Texas, Florida, now we're not going to assist ATF in this. You got to do this on your own. Oh, by the way, you can't wear masks, and you can't violate the constitutional rights of residents of these states, their Second Amendment rights. Then what? Again, it's a mental illness. These people are mentally ill. How are you going to sue ICE agents? And what court? And how would the state of New York award damages? Because the damages would have to be paid by the federal government. I didn't know that the states could do that. Supporters say the measure closes a legal gap previously limited accountability for federal actors. Expanded protections for students. The law strengthens protections for immigrant students by codifying the right to a free public education regardless of immigration status. See, but this is the crap. free provisions from government? Yes, they do. Free healthcare, free education, all the dime of stupid taxpayers that keep voting for this garbage. Restricting collection and disclosure of immigration status information, prohibiting schools from transferring students into immigration custody without a court order. ICE restricted sensitive locations. The legislation prevents immigration authorities from accessing non-public areas of state and local facilities without a judicial warrant. Protected locations include schools, hospitals, libraries, shelters, child care centers, community care centers, student housing, public parks, polling locations. Polling locations? Why would an illegal immigrant be in a polling location? They're not allowed to vote, right? Wait. Public parks. Again, double A. I want you to tell us who's going to actually enforce this law. How are you going to do it? There is a thing called the Supremacy Clause. You can't just go in there and tell the federal law enforcement they can't operate. It doesn't really matter. She made people on the left happy. She did the dance. She did the thing. And that brings me to Miss Rachel. Miss Rachel, who speaks to people like they're five. And she breaks everything down into these cute little phrases. See, I'm going to tell you something. I understand this. Her popularity in the political sphere is they want people like me to attack her, to pound my fist on the desk and yell at this, this woman who speaks in a falsetto voice, and she talks to like she's talking to children. She's just so sweet and innocent, and I'm the evil, heartless bastard. Evil, heartless bastard. I'm attacking Miss Rachel, who just wants to teach kids colors and shapes and numbers, and she's just there to be a popular early child education figure on YouTube. She's so sweet and innocent. Again, you can let me do this. Let's see. Gosh. You can manipulate anything you want. I said this to super producer Mike earlier. You can explain, if you explain anything in childlike terms, you can make anything sound good or bad. You can make anything good sound good or bad. Well, listen, kids. We're going to talk about capitalism versus socialism. See, in capitalism, some mommies and daddies make lots of money, and other mommies and daddies don't have a lot of money. In socialism, all the mommies and daddies have the same amount of money. Doesn't that sound fair? Now, there's way more to it than that.
Hey, what's up, Rick?
Okay.
LVA, how you doing, buddy?
Children, you almost have to take out all of the nuances and all of the details and all the bad feelings, right? You'd be like explaining hunting to children, right? Now, unless you're raised hunting, explaining hunting to children who just saw Bambi, right, would be very hard because they just saw Bambi. So, trying to explain to a child, well, there's conservation and deer spread disease and there's overpopulation. You can't do that, right? Especially when it's been Disneyified. So, I've often said, you can make anything sound stupid if you want. Now, imagine you took a popular rock or pop star and you hired an English thespian, a man of the theater, put him on a stage with a spotlight and a podium, and had him read any of your favorite lyrics, but in the tone of an English thespian. So here I, Charles Worthington, I'm going to present to you The lyrics to the song Kiss, Lick It Up. Yeah. Don't want to wait till you know me better. Let's just be glad for the time together. Life's such a treat, and it's time you taste it. There ain't a reason on earth to waste it. It ain't a crime to be good to yourself. Lick it up. Lick it up. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, yeah. Lick it up. Lick it up. I say, oh. So you can make anything sound stupid. You can make anything sound stupid, and you can make anything sound infantile. Play cut 4. I've had the honor of meeting with 10 absolutely precious children who, and their wonderful families, who have been locked in Dilley Immigration Detention Center in Texas. One minute, I talked to a 9-year-old about how we both love pizza and soccer, and how he won the spelling bee and wanted to get to the state spelling bee, and the next minute he was begging for help to get out of what we know as a family prison. A prison that is neglected. Yes. Hello, my beautiful friends. What an amazing day it is. Welcome back. Happy Tuesday. Hopefully your week is unfolding beautifully well. We've got some terror business to talk about today. FBI announcing that they've arrested 5 people that were going to blow up something at the UFC fight. We saw a rumor about that. Rick D flagged that for us yesterday. Didn't have any details on it, so whoever that person was ahead of the game. But we'll, of course, wait for the details on that. We still don't have any criminal complaints. We still don't have any indictments. And so we may come back on that this afternoon again once that story percolates a little bit longer throughout the day. But we do have some updates on that. It's breaking all over the place. Cash Patel had a post, and elsewhere we'll see what's going on. We got John Thune, the goon, backstabbing everybody again. We'll talk about that, and we'll see what else is happening at the G7 on this lovely morning. What a beautiful day it is. Very nice to see you. No walkabout today, but I can announce that we did order the backpack. We did it. So that is now an order that is being processed on their end. So we're going to have a little live stream camera setup gear that is going to be coming soon, and so we'll be playing around with that, and we'll have some fun with it, I think. So it's like this backpack. It's got 4 modems that are in the back of it. It connects to 4 different cell sites through the 4 different modems, and it then bonds all of those data feeds together so that we have a nice solid stream when we're out and about inside of buildings and out on the National Mall, going to the Supreme Court. We're back in session starting in October, so we're excited about that. We'll have a lot of DC activity there, and apparently it's going to be pretty nice. It's pretty good quality and all the things. So your boy's going to learn some new technology, and then we'll get out and about. You can take that down to the reflecting pool and other things. Speaking of the reflecting pool, we've been talking about that a lot, and we're making some progress. Today, you may have seen this. And of course, that's the presidential schedule. We don't want that. We want this right here. Workers are now dumping hydrogen peroxide into the reflecting pool this morning. All right, so here it is. Now, I would prefer to have just gallons of chlorine, which would just fix this in no time. But hydrogen peroxide is a little bit more natural. I'm not a chemist or a biologist, but I think that will dissipate into something that's less harmful than chlorine. But chlorine would be fine. The ducks will be fine, okay? They can just land in there. They do that in Arizona all the time. And I used to, when I was cleaning pools, I said, oh, there's ducks. Wow, this is so beautiful and majestic. But I really need to skim the surface of this. So we'll let them swim for a minute, but I'm getting my net out and taking care of business, you know? So here's what they're doing this morning. Glug, 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 glug. Just let that puppy go in there and people are taking photos of it. This is what I was talking about, okay? This was part of my strategy. Just let me go in with a bunch of chlorine, and yeah, now they've got maybe a whole nother one. So we did a walk and talk around this over the weekend on Saturday. If you missed it, I think we posted it on Sunday. But yeah, they backed up a truck. We've got 12% hydrogen peroxide going in there to clean this puppy up. And they're dumping it in there. And I think they set up, it looks like another pump. So there was one on the other side. I think if we're looking at this right. Yeah, I can't tell what side he's on exactly. But that's happening there. Yeah, chlorine is different, and the regs and safety are different for a giant public pool than a backyard pool. Yeah, it's true. It's true. But we would still use chlorine in big commercial pools, like big giant pools. I did a couple big commercial projects, built a couple of them. We had an RV park in Arizona. We built like an Olympic-sized pool, and we use chlorine in that. No doubt about it. Anyways, this, I think it's environmental and it leaks all over the place, so they don't want it to all just permeate into the groundwater. But we want it cleaned up. They're working on it. So, all right. Anyways, that's happening. So what else is cooking out there? The president is jamming today. You can see C-SPAN had him back to back this morning, and now I think he's in a working session over there with the Europeans. Trump met with Zelensky. Trump met with Middle East leaders. Trump met again with Zelensky. He had a meeting with the Qatari emir in France, and another one with Zelensky. 3 meetings with Zelensky. So we're going to have an Iran deal. It's going to be the best deal you ever saw. And then we're going to have the Russia-Ukraine situation all solved. It's going to be beautiful. Then we can get back to deporting illegal aliens. So all that's happening today. We've got Washington Journal. Trump and the UAE president was also live. We got the deputy White House budget director has a confirmation hearing today. We got some primaries tonight. I think the big one is in Georgia. We have a case of dueling endorsements. President Trump endorsed one candidate. Governor Brian Kemp endorsed another candidate out there in Georgia. So we'll take a look and we'll see who wins the battle of the dueling endorsements. But elsewhere on the presidential schedule, we can see mirrors a lot of what we saw on C-SPAN. And I've got some clips queued up. And he's got a social dinner. It's going to be 2:15 tonight, 8:15 p.m. local. Bunch of clips coming out, lots of questions about the deal and how we're going to have a bunch of resolutions on all this foreign policy business that has been capturing a lot of attention. And then tomorrow, I believe he's coming back home. So arrives at the White House sometime TBD. Not real sure exactly when that will be, but he'll be back. So here are a couple of clips here. So Trump was out there. This was one event from this morning with Qatar, who's smack dab in the middle of the conflict over there in the Middle East.
Looks like there is Marco Rubio, Scott Bessent, Howard Lutnick, Susie Wiles, and Jameson Greer, the president speaking now. Let's listen.
Let's do a second stage, which I think will be actually easier. I didn't want to attack them last week, but we had no choice. And we did it twice, actually. We're doing it the third time, and we were able to not have to do that. But we have a deal that's a fair deal. It's a good deal. We are not investing any money in Iran, by the way. That rumor got out there yesterday. It was ridiculous. We have the right to go in someday and do, if I want to do something or somebody wants to do something, but we are not investing any money. We have no obligation to invest any money in Iran. Working with Qatar and the people of Qatar was really a pleasure. They are really tough. They were strong. You know, they are the closest to Iran physically. So with other countries, I noticed that you travel about 45 minutes to get there. With you, you could walk right across the border. So you were in a more dangerous position. But I do have to say, you fought and you helped us, and with great bravery. So I just want to compliment you on that, and you'll always be my friend.
Well, thank you.
Wow, that's nice.
President. It's always a pleasure seeing you. I want to thank you for your leadership in this very, very important and critical time in the Middle East. And I think, as you mentioned, Mr. President, this is a very important deal. There's still a lot of work to be done, but I think, with this momentum, if we continue like that, Mr. President, I think we can achieve and do great in the region. So it's going to be very important for the region, very important also for Iran as well. So we are here to help whenever friends ask us to help. We're always here to help. Of course, also our bilateral relationship, Mr. President. Since your historic visit in Doha last year, our trade partnership is going to reach $1.2 trillion, and this is huge. And we have a lot of great investments that we're very proud of as well in the U.S. and also American companies investing in Qatar. So overall, we are very, very proud and very happy about this relationship. And, I want to once again thank you very much for your leadership. I think it was a very critical time, but I think you took the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Qatar is going to be investing much more than $1 trillion in the United States. We have over 18. It's going to be 19.4 or so when it figures out. But we set a record. There's never been anything like it. No country in history has had that kind of investment. We'll be having almost 19.1 to 19.2 trillion dollars invested in the United States. The record was 10 years ago from another country when it was hot. We have the hottest country in the world right now. But Qatar's been a great investor. We really rekindled ourselves when I met with you last year ago, probably 13, 14 months. That was a good trip. And
it was amazing last week, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
That was a great trip that we established. We've been friends for a long time. We've known each other for a long time, but Qatar is investing tremendous amounts of money in our country. Appreciate that. Our country is we're building more factories, AI. We're leading AI by a lot. We're building automobile factories. We're building more than we've ever built in the history of our country. No country is ever doing what we're doing right now. No country has ever been able to do. And those factories will be opening over the next year and a half. Some are already open very soon. The pharmaceutical companies are coming back. The car companies.
All right, so he goes on, and that's happening all day today. So Qatar, I think we got an airplane from them, right? They gave us the new Air Force One. It's a very nice gift. So Trump, we got Rubio, we got Bissett, we saw Susie Wiles was there. Remember, there were some rumors that she was leaving, but she is right there with the rest of the team. And so we'll see ultimately what gets signed. I think the signing is going to be happening on Friday. We also saw they gifted Trump this beautiful World Cup jersey, and he seemed to enjoy it. The German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, handed Trump a soccer jersey for his birthday at the G7. Little late birthday gift, belated. Drawing smiles as world leaders gathered for high-stakes talks. The gift came with a lighthearted message, but it also underscored the effort to project unity among allies amid ongoing discussions on security, trade, and global conflicts. What a nice gift. Trump 47, MVP. Here you go, Mr. President. Son excellence, Monsieur. How do you speak French? Donald J. Trump. So they're out there. We also had a video of this. Here's how the handoff handed. And they seemed like they were having a good time. Even the English were laughing about it. Okay, so that's happening today. All right, so we'll see. Maybe this will also be the beginning of making Germany and making England great again, and they can join us in the mass deportations and the net negative migration. And the French, too. And we can get back to some normalcy in the Western democracies, not continue to enable third world invaders. Yeah, and I don't really know how you say Qatar. I've heard it multiple different ways. Some people say Qatar, and then other people say Qatar. And then I think I've also heard Qatar. Qatar? There's a bunch of different ways. Basically, I think every time I hear it, even on Fox, I was listening to it, they're like, they all say it differently. So J.D. Vance also making the rounds. He's going on a bunch of podcasts. I think he's going on with Megyn Kelly today, which is causing a bunch of people to be outraged. But he, I think, is on a little bit of a PR rehabilitation tour to try to go and very likely sell this deal to even some of the naysayers who were very unhappy about what happened in Iran. So he's also on Fox today. I think he was on Fox last. He had to say about this in follow-up. This got posted today from Eric Dowries. I think he may have been back today. That's expected. It's a little frustrating to me is you see certain people in the So first of all, not a single cent of American money goes to Iran. Not $300 billion, not $24 billion, not any of the money, the dollar figures that I've seen floating around. Number two, this is a firm commitment backed up by verifiable action to never develop or buy a nuclear weapon by the Iranians, which, remember, that was the whole point of this entire operation, is to ensure not just that Iran wouldn't have a nuclear weapon for the next couple of years, but that they would make that long-term commitment. Now, here's the important part, though, is there are benefits to Iran if they perform their end of the obligation, not money from the United States, but maybe Qatar or the UAE or Saudi Arabia, maybe they want to invest in Iran and build a power plant. The United States, our approach to that is going to be, yeah, you can do that so long as the Iranians are behaving properly. But if they don't behave properly, they don't get any of the benefits of this bargain. And so you see the propagandists who are saying, here are all the things Iran gets. And the fine print, which actually the big print in the actual agreement is, they don't get any of that stuff unless they totally transform themselves as a country. Qatar is how he said it. So who the hell knows? But I think what he's referencing is the idea that the Iranian money, all of those billions of dollars that everybody's talking about now, were sanctioned and essentially frozen in place at the various banks around the world. So it's not like we're giving them $24 billion or whatever. The United States controls the monetary system of the world by and large via the US dollar, and just lift the sanctions on money that's already theirs, not that we're going to give them $24 billion of new cold American cash. So that's the conversation that's happening today. I'm also learning, I think Retired 5-0 said that he's also going on The View. He was on with Glenn Beck this morning. He's going on The View in 10 minutes. Dang. So he's all over the place. And there's a big PR push, right, to make this thing happen and get it across the finish line. So all that's happening. A follow-up story yesterday. So apparently this was a devastating story, but they're all dead. The B-52 bomber crashes, flames in California, now confirmed by Reuters. All 8 crew members are dead. And I didn't see the video footage or the aftermath, but that's the scene of the crash. There is no airplane anymore. So how the heck did this happen? They still don't know. Saying the B-52 crashed in Southern California's Mojave Desert, bursting into flames, killing all 8 crew members, officials said.
Those fucking jets are 70
Built to
years
carry
old.
a wide array of nuclear and conventional bombs. There's the smokestack coming out after the catastrophe. He said the mixed crew aboard consisted of government civilians, government contractors, and uniformed military personnel. And 2 Boeing employees were also dead. How did it happen? We don't know. Aerial footage of the crash scene about 100 miles north of LA showed a charred, smoldering patch of the desert floor larger than a football field. Emergency vehicles went out there. They said immediately this was deemed to be unsurvivable. Grounded all operations at Edwards Air Force Base. Talking more about the B-52. Not a lot of details, though, on what happened. I think obviously that's going to take some time to unpack, but how does that happen? Was it a mechanical error? Was it sabotage? Was it something else? I don't know. But that's a follow-up on that one. We were looking at this at the end of the show yesterday, and we were reading the Fox News article, and they weren't as confirming as this article was about the death of the 8 crew. So 8 crew dead. May they rest in peace. We said a prayer yesterday, and we'll reconfirm that this morning. But there's also another story today about this terror attack. We're waiting for the names to drop. They have not dropped yet, so we'll very likely come back on this afternoon once the documents hit the court docket, once we see a criminal complaint or a federal indictment drop. But an explosive drone plot that involved apparently 23 people. So it's a big one. And they're investigating it. 5 people were in custody as of yesterday, and investigators identified 23 people in total as part of a potential network of plotters. The alleged plan involved using explosive-laden drones to hit buildings near the event, force a mass evacuation, then steer the crowds toward a pre-staged sniper team. What? A second wave was then allegedly planned to storm the White House gate, like out of that movie. The FBI first learned of the threat on June 10th and worked with partners to secure a probable cause for an arrest in Cincinnati. 1 person taken into custody over there. Secret Service also working closely with the FBI. Secret Service said, in the days leading up to this weekend, our special agents, mission support personnel, and technical security teams worked around the clock to identify those responsible and hold them accountable. They uncovered signal chats, just like they used for the insurgency in Minneapolis and Minnesota. Multiple people were discussing attacking the UFC event. An initial review of one suspect's phone identified at least 23 other signal users discussing pre-operational activity. They were going to go to Virginia, June 12 or 13, and apparently they were going to be attacking the capitalist elites, the billionaires, and politicians who got money from AIPAC. Stretched across 12 FBI field offices, Kash Patel said the FBI did a great job and that they can respond quickly when threats emerge. So pretty wild situation, and I fully expect to see some criminal charging documents later today, and we'll very likely come back on that, of course, later. But there were a couple of reactions to this morning. So this guy was giving us an update. Here's what he had to say about the latest on the drone attack.
Breaking news just into the Fox newsroom. The FBI disrupting this alleged plot targeting the UFC Freedom 250 event at the White House. Officials telling Fox a network of nearly 24 potential plotters were identified, with at least 5 people in custody right now. The suspects allegedly traveled to Fredericksburg, Virginia to make final preparations for the attack, and the alleged plan allegedly included explosive-packed drones hitting buildings near the event, forcing a mass evacuation, and then steering crowds, get this, toward a pre-staged sniper team.
Wild.
A second wave was then planned to storm the White House gate. The FBI first learned of the threat on June 10th and worked with law enforcement across multiple states to stop it. FBI Director Kash Patel saying, quote, "We are built to detect, respond to, and bring to justice those who threaten the lives of American citizens, particularly during large gatherings like the historic UFC 250 fight." That's exactly what we did. Over 4,300 people were in attendance for UFC 250, which included 1,200 service members. Luckily, nobody was harmed during the FBI's takedown, and the event went off without a hitch.
Yeah, it was a great event. But that's an insane plot. So 23 people, drones, snipers, and a raid on the White House. And we're seeing a lot of this activity. We're starting to see a pattern emerge. They're shooting Charlie Kirk in the neck. They're shooting Luigi Mangione, shooting CEOs. We just saw yesterday that Jonathan Rinderknecht, the French gay guy who came over and was upset that he can't get a girlfriend, I guess, because he's not gay or whatever, driving around in Uber, screaming and shouting about capitalists and about Trump and the administration, and then burns a whole city to the ground as a result of it. So troubling indeed. Now we'll see obviously what the charges look like and who these people are, but that's not ideal. And maybe it's an entrapment plot. Maybe it's, the FBI feds all in the chat. It's like one guy. We've seen that happen before. But I don't know. It feels like there's a pattern that's emerging where these people are organizing themselves into communist insurgencies. We saw the same thing point blank when we were covering the Minnesota-Minneapolis insurrection that was happening there. They were forming a legitimate insurgency. We've read the quote from the Green Beret who said, "I've not seen anything like this since Afghanistan." They've got Airtable spreadsheet tables where they're tracking license plates. They're following federal agents to their homes. They have rapid response forces. They have coded dispatch language. They're highly organized and they're funded, man. Where does the money come from? Who keeps them propped up? Previously, it was the Southern Poverty Law Center that was paying a bunch of white supremacists and domestic extremists to go burn crosses, paying for their fuel and their wood that they would then ignite, sleeping with the white nationalists, allegedly, in multiple various locations, and then also creating bank accounts that they could share, like a joint bank account between the SPLC anti-extremist and the extremists, lying about it, laundering money through various shell companies and various fake bank accounts. So there's an infrastructure out there. And then it's going to be like 15 days of America 250 celebration that's happening starting very soon. So we have to keep our wits about us, but we will be celebrating because we don't live in fear. Dang it. All right, so we'll come back to that. We'll wait for that story to materialize and see what the documents look like and then come back on those. We also saw that Kennedy is now announcing that he sent a letter over to the editor-in-chief of a publication called Toxicology Reports. This is curious. We have a baby coming, and apparently there was an article about sudden infant death and how jabs might cause it. And then they removed that article from their publication. Now Kennedy wants to know why. I sent this letter to the editor-in-chief of Toxicology Reports demanding a full explanation for the removal of a published article examining jabs and sudden infant death. Americans have a right to know why scientific papers are removed, who made those decisions, what evidence supported them, if any, other than just covering up for the pharma companies, and whether the same standards are applied consistently. We will restore public trust in public health by insisting on transparency, accountability, and open scientific inquiry, not by asking the public to accept decisions behind closed doors. And they've got their work cut out for them because the damage that they did during COVID may not be reversible. But he sent this out over to the Department of Pharmacology, Wayne State University School of Medicine. He said, "I am writing to you regarding the editorial process concerning the removal of the article called Vaccines and Sudden Infant Death, an analysis of the VAERS database from 1990 to 2019 in a review of the medical literature by Neil Miller." Now, as you may know, research integrity and academic freedom have been important issues to me for decades in my private career and continue in the public. And in the case of research conducted by the Public Health Service, we need research integrity. These are vital to being trustworthy. So for that reason, the recent decision to remove this article is of great interest to me. Retraction and even removal of seriously flawed publications is appropriate in certain cases. However, it should also be accompanied by a transparent and full explanation as to why. For example, a guide on publication ethics states that the notice of retraction should, quote, state the reasons for the retraction. The notice of removal that you issued only had 2 sentences explaining why you took it out. Given the high levels of public interest in jab safety and a history of both overt and obscure pressure against the study on some topics, such a brief notice of removal is woefully insufficient. And so, to assist me and my staff in understanding the editorial standards on why you removed this, please let me know how this decision was reached. Give me a full written internal analysis that justified the decision. For example, show me the data or the statistical or methodological analysis that demonstrate that the author's, quote, conclusions presented are not supported by the methodology. And if and which experts were consulted in this? You state that because of, quote, post-publication concerns raised by readers about potential research errors and other methodological flaws, the journal initiated an investigation. Please identify the experts who conducted this investigation and the conflicts of interest that these experts may have. Do they work for Pfizer? Clarification of treatment and corroborating literature as well. The Miller paper cites an extensive literature on an association between SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, and recent jabs from 1933 all the way to 2014. Did the experts involved in investigating the Miller article also investigate those cited papers? You also cite the potential implications for medical practice as a reason for retraction. What does that mean? Like you'd rather have more babies jabbed for some long-term medical interest than you would avoid them dying, a certain subset of babies dying. Well, can't the parents make that decision? So why did you retract this? Are they applied equivalently to papers with similar subject areas and hence similar implications for medical practice? And please explain why you opted for the removal of an article rather than an expression of concern or a retraction. Which specific guidelines on scientific integrity and publication ethics did you follow when deciding to remove the paper? To rebuild the American public's trust in public health and medical science, full transparency regarding these decisions is essential. The public deserves to know how and if the scientific publishing industry is taking its duty to ensure research integrity is taken seriously and ethically. Sincerely, RFK Jr. So we'll see if they explain themselves. But always curious when there's good information out there and then they're like, let's take that out of there. Is it bad information? Well, explain what. Shouldn't be that complicated. Or is it that too many people are reading that report and opting not to jab their kids up with your 77 whatever plus litany of pharmaceutical products that you have on a subscription program for all newborns? So interesting stuff from RFK there. They've got their work cut out for them because every single cable show, it's pharmaceutical after pharmaceutical. Do you think that these pharma companies that are paying the news agencies to run their ads are only interested in shilling their pharmaceutical for some rare condition that like 0.5% of the population actually has? Well, maybe. I mean, yeah, they want to sell their products, but I think they also want to pay the news companies to comport their coverage into a certain dynamic so that it's not adversarial to the pharmaceutical companies. So that's from RFK. And here is more on this one. Yeah, this one's a little bit infuriating, from John Thune. John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, with another backstab to Americans and to President Trump. They really want the FISA Act reinvigorated so that they can continue to spy on Americans without proper certification and authority to do so. But they really don't want the SAFE Act. And so President Trump came out and said, listen, punks, a few Democrats are against FISA with or without Bill Pulte going to DNI as acting. What kind of a deal is that? Besides, I'm against FISA if it does not come with the Save America Act, the full version. You want this spying tool? We want elections that have integrity. It has to be firmly attached to it together. Make America great again. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. And what does John Thune do when the leader of the party and of the country demands something like this? He says no, because of course. I think many Republicans are also in on the grift. If they pass the SAVE Act, it also wrecks their campaigning style. It wrecks all of the infrastructure that they've built over the years that would be devastated by the Save America Act. It's not just the Democrats, which is why John Thune and many others do not want this thing to move forward. John Thune said that they would not move forward with this type of a plan. to try to link the Save America Act to FISA. We just want FISA. We definitely don't want Save America. Lawmakers now seeking to extend FISA, which authorizes warrantless surveillance of foreigners abroad and also gobbles up Americans in this. We saw that FBI agents and other federal agents were spying on their significant others. They were doing background checks on new tenants coming into their rental properties. It's all being exploited, and President Trump had this exploited against him. Carter Page had a FISA warrant that was riddled with fraudulent errors that then flew through without any notice to the other side. And then Carter Page was deemed to be a foreign spy and had his campaign spied on through Carter Page into Trump. The provision expired at the end of the week last week, and I don't recall seeing half the country die, because that's what they say every time. FISA expires, we're all going to die. Well, we're doing okay. I think we're fine. We just caught the drone attackers. Thune, for his part, suggested that a planned extension would likely receive a vote only after Jay Clayton is put in there. And they're almost okay with not having FISA because they definitely do not want Bill Pulte, Trump's new acting DNI, the guy replacing Tulsi Gabbard, to have that power. You have to have a certain person who is allowed to have that power. You just can't give it to Bill Pulte, who might actually use it to go after the deep state. We will try and move 702 as soon as we feel like we have the votes to do it, but that's all probably contingent on getting confirmed in his position. And Clayton is over with the SDNY, which is maybe the most corrupt U.S. attorney's office in the whole country. Same people who prosecuted Ghislaine Maxwell as a cleanup operation with Maureen Comey. Same jurisdiction that also was prosecuting.
Sorry, missed you.
And Epstein when he killed himself.
Daydreaming here
so
while I'm driving.
He's coming over from there. And the guy's got a lot of background in some major financial institutions. We'll see how he does and what the confirmation hearings expose. But throwing a wrench in the plans to extend the surveillance powers was Trump's appointment of Bill Pulte. They're furious about that. And the Save America Act, which has been dead on arrival in the Senate, is not going to be connected to the two because they don't want to do anything good for America. They want more spying. They want less election integrity. John Thune was out. He said, now, while we can't know the consequences of the Democrats' decision to allow FISA to go dark, we do know it is almost certainly putting our nation at greater risk, really. I hope that in the coming days...
Huntington Road.
I've reported an object in the road. Thanks.
Democrat colleagues will rethink their decision to take this program hostage and will restore this key safeguard of our country's security.
I hope you feel better, buddy.
Well, even the president is now saying he wants it with the SAFE Act.
President on Thursday, President Trump nominated New York to be the director of national intelligence. He has an impressive resume with experience in both public sector and the private sector. And he has a kind of skill set necessary for managing issues as complex and varied as those faced by the Director of National Intelligence. But for some perspective from the other side of the aisle, Democrat Vice Chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee voted on Thursday indictability. I have known and respected Jay Clayton for many years and believe he is a capable public servant.
Wow.
Mr. President, Republicans here in the Senate have built a record of acting quickly on the president's nominees, and we're going to do the same with Mr. Clayton. The Senate Intelligence Committee has already announced that it will hold a hearing on Mr. Clayton's nomination this week. Once he is approved by the committee, it's my intention to bring his nomination forward very quickly. And I hope we will have bipartisan support for making that happen. Mr. President, while we didn't know exactly when it would arrive, we knew a nomination like Mr. Clayton was coming. How? Because the President made it very clear that his choice of Bill Pulte for acting director of national intelligence was a temporary pick.
That's what acting means.
Democrats decided to hold Section 702 of FISA hostage over Mr. Pulte's temporary short-term appointment. Thanks to their decision as of Friday, this program authorization has lapsed. What does that mean, Mr. President? It means the nation is currently operating without the full capacity of its most critical intelligence gathering tool.
Yeah.
Let that sink in for just a minute.
Yeah, looks like I'm driving into it again. Not quite as bad as the last time, but
Without
it was rain predicted for this evening
of its most critical
or afternoon, rather.
intelligence gathering tool, all over a short-term, temporary presidential election.
Because they don't want him to have that power. Only certain people can touch FISA. It's people that the bipartisan group of Washington elites deem fit to have it. Tulsi Gabbard got in there, and I'm not sure what we're going to see out of Jay Clayton, but we have some concerns that it's not going to be as proactive as Tulsi Gabbard's reign was, but we shall see. When the Democrats are coming out and they're like ultra in favor of this guy, because they hate Bill Pulte so much, makes me a little bit nervous. But John Thune, of course, they're on a one-track mind. They just can't get off of FISA. Nothing else is nearly as important as FISA. Mike Lee, though, says, no, the lack of accountability for domestic spying abuses across the board is yet another reason we need a warrant requirement to reauthorize FISA. Trust is not enough, because they use this and abuse this to go and attack Trump when their people were in charge. John Brennan, Ratcliffe, Wray, Comey, the worst of the worst. Why would we give them another tool to use and abuse when they come back? The Supreme Court yesterday, as we saw, rejected.
Yeah, I did a lot of work in the backyard.
Lawsuit against James Comey.
Took down about 18 garbage trees, burned them up
during Crossfire Hurricane. Even when they went and got a warrant to use that power to go spy on him domestically, they filled the warrant application with nonsense and garbage. No repercussions for it at all. Perverted the application, spied on the campaign, all running free, like nothing happened. Page was never charged with a crime, yet was subjected to a secret FISA court surveillance across 2016 and 2017. How come they couldn't go to a regular judge in an Article 3 court that is at a district level? Why do they have to go to the special FISA court? If he's such a criminal and there's probable cause that a crime is being committed, why didn't they go that route? Because there was no evidence of a crime. Because they would not have been able to go get a warrant. Maybe they would have. I mean, Jack cell phone surveillance applications, and Judge Boasberg granted those. But they go to FISA because they know they'll rubber stamp their entire scam. So your line's on there so they can go after you.
We'll be right back.
What happened? I don't know why everybody started talking about the hundreds of thousands of violations of FISA in the last 4 years under Joe Biden. President Trump's correct. If they want to pass something, look, if they want to do something for our great country, put the Save America Act on. Let's take our elections back before these elections are stolen from us.
Well, you act like it was you and all the Republicans. It was you and 18 Republicans who voted against it and it expired.
Yes, ma'am. You said I joined the Democrats, and you said I joined the Democrats, ma'am, and that was inaccurate completely. And I wish they quit trying to do this. Look, again, Joe Biden used it, his administration used it to spy on Donald Trump, to spy on Americans. And now all of a sudden we're in charge and we're not going to fix it. That makes us complacent and compliant in illegal activity, and we need to fix it. That's all we need to do. Get a search warrant. What's wrong with that?
We can debate. We can debate
Debate it then.
how the authorizations in the FISA court and how you get authorizations for these searches now. But we don't have time. You're welcome to come back, Congressman, but I want to ask you.
I would love to come back,
No, I want to ask you.
I'll uphold the Constitution, and that's what I intend to do.
Shout out. Yeah, and why can't they just revise FISA to add some additional protections in there? We looked at the last FISA maneuver that was working its way through Congress and looked and read through all of the various amendments to the current FISA that would mandate reforms in the implementation of the applications to spy on people. And they don't want to do that. They don't want to put any checks and balances. They don't want to put any protections in there. Why is that? I think we know. Because they don't want oversight. They want an unfettered blanket tool and mechanism that the intelligence.
How much gas has come down to here? It actually
under the stewardship
already came down in the Toledo area.
Will not always be that way.
After the deal announcement.
Even if there's new people at the top, you put John Ratcliffe at the top, you put Kash Patel at the top, you put Todd Blanche up there, you put Jay Clayton or Tulsi Gabbard up at the top. It's still filled and riddled with moles and bad actors inside. James Comey came out and told them, hang on, stand back and stand by. We'll come back soon, and then we'll have these very tools that we can use to abuse our political opponents like they did the last go-round. So Mike Lee said, sometimes the best legislative strategy is also the simplest. Put the Save America Act on the Senate floor, keep debating it until it passes, and even if that requires the Senate to remain on the bill for weeks, eating into weekends and scheduled recesses as necessary, do it. And FISA should have the reforms regardless of what happens with the SAVE Act. But if we're going to have a big fat crap sandwich, at least give us some delicious dessert after the fact. Mike Lee said, yes, the filibuster can make legislating difficult, but it doesn't give Senate Republicans an excuse to give up on the Save America Act just because there aren't currently 60 votes out there. We should return to it immediately and stay on it until it passes. Here's base Mike Lee explaining.
Senate Republicans can't just accept that we can't get the Save America Act passed simply because we don't currently have 60 votes. Remember, the filibuster is there to protect debate and to make sure that even when a minority of senators might want to continue debating something, they can't easily be shut down. That's why it takes 60 votes to bring debate to a close. That's what the filibuster is. It's been assumed into something quite contrary to its intended purpose. It's evolved into something that suggests that unless you can get to 60 votes at the outset, and you're certain of it, then you need not even bother bringing up a piece of legislation. So take the Save America Act, for example. We know we've got a simple majority of U.S. senators who's it's already passed the House of Representatives. You got to put it on the Senate floor and continue to debate it for as long as it takes to get it passed. We could do that. Now, the only downside is it would take weeks. The ultimate outcome is a bit uncertain in terms of the total amount of time and effort it would take. And it's also a little bit uncertain what the bill would look like. But we know from the historical examples, like the passage of the Civil Rights Act in 1964, that it can be done. It's just that it takes a lot of effort. So if you agree with me that this is a project worth undertaking, that it's worth the risk, the investment of time and effort, and also the uncertainty that goes along with it, please continue to tell your senators that you want the Save America Act put on the floor, you want to debate it, you want the Senate to keep debating it until it passes. We can do this, but it's going to take a lot of work. Please join me if you agree. Join me in this cause, and let's get it done.
We join you, base Mike Lee. Thank you for staying on this one for a long time. And one of the few senators who is keeping the momentum and the energy and the pressure onto John Thune. But like I said, I think that many Republicans are beneficiaries of the current system. The current system is how they got into power. So changing the system threatens their continued power. And it happens on both sides of the aisle. The American public, it's common sense. Just check some ID. Even if you don't want to go as deep as confirming citizenship, Can you just show ID? No, can't even do that. Why? Well, probably because many people on both sides are benefiting. Just why we saw almost nothing happen on illegal immigration my entire life, because both sides were benefiting from it. Trump had to come in and
I have to change till 3:38 here.
We're not doing this crap anymore, and the country's better for it. So, as usual, Trump is having to do the same thing, but we've got backstab John Thune, who is not wanting to comply with any of this, saying he's not going to be pushing forward with the SAVE Act or entertaining Base Mike Lee's alternative plan. And we'll see what happens here. But if we have to eat FISA, we'd like to get something out of it. Otherwise, they can just suffer. No FISA for you. And it's one of the most important things for all of them. They literally all bend over backwards to make sure that this gets continued every single time. I think the only reason the Democrats are not wanting it in place right now, otherwise they'd be all for it, is because Trump intelligently put Bill Pulte in there. And he says, if you want FISA, we're going to put somebody in there who's going to use it appropriately and use it in a way that maybe benefits us, just like you did when you had control. Then all of a sudden the Democrats are like, nope, actually, we don't want FISA. But if they can get rid of Bill Pulte, if they can put Jake Clayton in there, who is a lifelong prosecutor and I would say somebody who is more friendly to the Democratic constituency, according to them, they're the ones who are also behind him, then they'll happily give that power right back, and then we'll all be screwed. So here is what we'll see moving forward. We'll see if Trump can continue to push Thune to do something useful for America or not, and keep our eye on this one. All right, we got one more update, my friends, then we'll hear from you. Very interesting set of documents now released. New documents reveal the Biden DOJ and FBI were targeting American citizens against the wishes of some other law enforcement personnel, going to school parents and saying that they were the ones who were being abusive and maybe were meriting a federal inquiry. America First Legal got their hands on these, saying they now reveal that the DOJ weaponized law enforcement against school board parents and school board meetings. We saw these happening all over the country. Parents going to schools, speaking out about the abuse of the government, the abuse of the schools to trans their kids, to jab their kids, to indoctrinate their kids with all sorts of pronouns and freak show books being published in their libraries. Now, we got materials showing that even some FBI officials and some National Sheriff's Association law enforcement personnel were objecting to this. Here's one email from Miriam Coakley, Office of the General Counsel at the FBI. So FBI, but GC lawyer. Sent this one on.
We're driving into some rain up here. I can see it raining off to the right.
And a detective,
you see it coming down.
Other people from the FBI saying, I am reviewing this draft Attorney General memo about school board threats and draft press release. So Garland comes out, writes this memo saying, parents, you're insurrectionists now for protesting at your school board meetings. Said, good afternoon, Miriam writes, not sure if you've seen this or weighed in, but it was just raised to my attention. I hope the DOJ reconsiders this memo that is abusing parents. AFL first obtained the documents from the DOJ. They're suing Merrick Garland. He wrote an October 4th, 2021 memo targeting concerned parents at school board meetings. On October 4th, the date the memo was released, FBI Deputy Assistant Director Jay Greenberg emailed the Office of the Deputy Attorney General saying, hey guys, at the DOJ, even the Deputy Assistant said the FBI has concern about this. He said, it would be nice to have additional time to engage before messaging about the infamous memo went out. Jay writes this, even inside the FBI, they were concerned about the DOJ. DOJ says, shut up, we don't care. Go enforce the law as we dictate. Says Iris, Kevin, we have some concern with the attached, and this is the final AG memo, to all U.S. attorneys and all special agents in charge, draft press release. And we would like additional time to engage with you before this messaging is released. CTD has been leading the charge on this for our engagement across the street with Kevin Chambers, but I would ask for any assistance you can provide in helping us. Get time to find common ground we can all support. None of us wants to see any threats of violence tolerated, and I'm sure we can find a way to stand together on that messaging, give an appropriate time to work through any concerns. He also said, Greenberg, that the DOJ was also not on the same page. Same guy writes, Iris Kevin, we can stand together, we read that. Then on the evening of October 4th, Miriam Coakley, a top attorney in the FBI's Office of General Counsel, emailed DOJ attorneys saying, I hope the DOJ reconsiders. Another email comes out after the memo was dropped October 8th. Then the National Sheriff's Association reached out to the officials at the Associate Deputy AG's office, stating that its sheriffs, quote, had not heard any concerns about a threat to local school boards, and that, it would have been nice to have a heads up. This comes from Peter Young to Vanita Gupta, says, hey, VG and Matthew, flagging that I just received a call from JT at the National Sheriff's Association. He called me to inquire about the memo about the school board threats. He asked, why is the DOJ involving itself in local issues? I let him know my understanding that the DOJ investigates threats in various contexts, and this is right in the middle of COVID too, right? Friday, October 8, 2021, so everybody's getting jabbed up. Parents are very unhappy with what's going on with the schools. Schools are locked down. Kids are home. Kids are literally losing years of their lives because of our stupid government. He claimed that sheriffs, quote, have not heard any concerns about threats to local school boards. So why are they attacking the parents as threats? I read him the part of the memo that directed the FBI to coordinate and convene with state and locals, and he claimed that his sheriff, quote, have not heard from anyone at the Bureau, and it would have been nice to have a heads up. I told him I would take back his concern, Office of the Associate AG. One of the largest law enforcement associations in the country was not consulted about or given prior notice about this memo. Faced with siding with the National Sheriff's Association or the National School Boards Association, the Bidens chose the school boards. The memo was issued despite concerns from top FBI officials and external enforcement stakeholders. Federal law enforcement and counterterrorism resources were unleashed against concerned parents who were speaking out at school board meetings. Then they enforced the memo. It became a top priority. Garland was briefed on threats to school personnel alongside major threats like those targeting elections, airports, judges, and members of Congress. They went after the school boards and the parents.
We just took out all those barrels.
On Friday, you'll receive a briefing on Department
That's fresh because those things would have blown away by now.
Violence in our civic and public spaces against election officials and workers, flight crews and airport staff, personnel at schools, members of Congress, federal agents, prosecutors, and judges. Will be a virtual hearing, and you can be a part of it. Shortly after the Garland memo was released, the FBI moved to enforce it. They created a new threat tag. We've talked about this repeatedly, how they created homegrown domestic violent extremists, like a new category. And then we need a budget for it, and then we're going to go find those people. Who are the extremists? Anybody who questions COVID, anybody who questions January 6th and the Fedsurrection, anybody who questions the 2020 election, and so on and so forth. You're now an extremist, not just a conspiracy theorist, but an extremist that merits federal law enforcement investigating you. Now it comes to parents who go to school board meetings and use their free speech to have a conversation with the school boards. Now we've got new edu officials. As part of, quote, assessing threats specifically directed against school board administrators, board members, teachers, and staff, the FBI's Criminal Investigative Division and their Counterterrorism Division was instructed to identify whether there was a federal nexus, whether parents going to school boards and saying, I don't want my daughter attacked by a trans boy in a girl's bathroom like we saw in Loudoun County. That's now terrorism. They arrested that dude. Carlton Peoples sent an email to FBI SACs, copied a bunch of other people at the FBI. Here's the memo on guidance, threat to violence against school administrators. All on October 4th, AG forwarded a memo addressing a spike in harassment
Yeah, I'm 315 there at Flying J.
Is intimidating. And threats of violence against school admin, board members, teachers, and staff. It directed each U.S. attorney to coordinate with the FBI to convene meetings with local leaders within 30 days, saying we share an obligation to ensure everyone can do their jobs without threats of violence or fear for their safety. And they're always fearful of their safety. Somebody asks them a hard question at a school board meeting, they're under attack. What are you, a bigot? What are you, a conspiracy theorist? What are you, a transphobe? Whatever. And it's like terrorism because they can't answer. As a result, the counterterrorism and criminal divisions of the federal government created a threat tag called EduOfficials to track instances of related threats. We ask that your offices apply the threat tag to investigations and assessments of the threats specifically directed against school board administrators, board members, teachers, and staff. And by the way, it's already illegal to threaten somebody. You can't call a teacher an official and say, I'm going to come over and eliminate you. You send that to your local cops, your local prosecutors will likely charge you with a fine for that, for intimidation and harassment and threats. The purpose of the threat tag is to help scope this threat on a national level and provide an opportunity for comprehensive analysis of the threat picture for effective engagement with law enforcement partners at all levels. When evaluating these potential threats, we ask that you attempt to identify the following. Is there a federal nexus for this new federal law enforcement agency that's now stealing jurisdiction over school boards? Are there potential federal violations that can be investigated and charged? And what's the motivation behind the criminal activity? It's not criminal. They're talking about their kids being abused in schools. Biden's DOJ unleashed the full force of the federal government against parents speaking out at the school board meetings. This is what government weaponization looks like. Not Trump
blowing
for his crimes. So America First Legal will continue to expose how the Biden administration weaponized the DOJ, the FBI, and the entire federal government apparatus against the American people. And a great document reveal more about the lawsuit on their website, saying that they had concerns, they wanted additional time to engage, they wanted common ground, but it wasn't about actually stopping violence or stopping threats. It was about standing up a federal law enforcement division that could go and make sure the schools and parents who were attending the schools and going to these meetings were all locked into compliance. It was about slamming down dissent. Don't you dare object to our new trans policy where all the boys can use all the girls' bathrooms and even attack some guy's daughter. Shut up about that. Everyone's getting jabbed. You're mad that we locked the country down and forced you to do these things in order to come back to school? You're now a terrorist. So full documents released, and Will Scalinos over at America First Legal says, parents speaking at school board meetings were never national security threats. The Biden DOJ knew it. These docs confirm that the DOJ ignored the law enforcement's on-the-ground threat assessments and continued with its vindictive, politically driven weaponization of parents. Because they're not really your kids when the Democratic Party is in control. They're actually the government's kids. And they can do whatever they want with them, including lock their genitals off after decades of brainwashing. So this, of course, is a good reveal. And the more this goes on, the more it becomes obvious and apparent that there needs to be repercussions for the people who are violating their oath of office, violating the civil rights of parents, targeting innocent people as being terrorists, worthy of a federal investigation. Hopefully repercussions are coming. All right, friends, let's see what you say about all this. Let's see who's here. And this is just the tip of the iceberg with these people. It's recent. Hopefully more docs continue to come out. Let's see who's joining us. What a lovely morning it is. Londo. Yeah, Eric Garland. Yeah, a couple of good notes there. He was not pardoned at all. Hey, Catman says, hey, talking about the chlorine. What's up, Sharpie Guy? Good to see you, Sharpie Guy. Good morning. Rob, Alexis, and Watchers. Nice to see you, Sharpie Guy. Yeah, Spud says even 10% high.
Well, the temperature just dropped severely.
Started. That's, you can look at
saying them, that they did this, they caused this. And that's just not the way we should stand. You know, to me, we should be able to disagree with someone without turning them into our enemies. And the reason why, you know, cable news does that.
Where you gonna go,
and the
dude?
reason why your algorithm does that is because angry people vote. Angry people are great viewers. Angry
Fuck yeah,
people
man. Don't let it
scroll
drown.
endlessly. And as long as they can keep everyone fighting, it's really good for business. And I have no interest in that business.
Well, there's also, well, I'm just trying to point, like, my comparison of Trump. I mean, you know history. Teddy Roosevelt was pretty brutal in the Philippines.
For sure. Oh, no, and listen, you can find that thing, but you know, overall, we are not. No one is really judged by one moment. Even the older presidents, right? Every president that I've written about in my kids' book series, every single one has moments where you were like, and I'm talking about like even the biggest, best. Yeah, president. Any hero I've written about has a moment where you're like, that wasn't their best day. But at the end of the day, we put everything on the scale and we say, okay, what do we live with? And my measure of that is, do you want your kid emulating this person? Now, do I want my kid emulating Teddy Roosevelt in the Philippines in a fight? Like, okay, you went on that day. But overall, I'll take my kid behaving like Teddy Roosevelt any day. That's why I wrote the book. Because I'm like, at America 250, I know one thing. I want history to be taught better to our children today. It's not being taught in schools. You can't defund schools and have everything you want. So history went to the wayside. Arts went to the wayside. Things went to the wayside. That's the way it goes. I can either complain about it or do something about it. And my belief is I'm going to write, this is my 39th kids book about American heroes, and I'm going to give those kids something to look up to. And I can't change the minds of adults. But for over a decade now, I've been arming a generation of kids with lessons of compassion and kindness and looking out for people beyond yourself. And brother, I will take that fight any day.
Well, I am the evil, heartless bastard, so.
First of all, you play that, you'll never ever convince me that you are that person. I know you love it, and I know it's good marketing. But anyone who knows, I've known you for the 20 years because we're from the same area. You're one of the nicest, most.
Don't you do that.
Yes, it's true, baby. I know it's true.
All right, one thing I want to ask you about Teddy Roosevelt's life, and here's another funny story. Have you ever been to St. Paul's Chapel here in New York City?
I have been there, yeah.
Okay, so. Here's a funny story. When I had a TV show,
I did a scene there in a novel there. I did a scene there years ago.
So I'm coming out of my old TV studio, and I'm walking up Broadway, and I see Doug Burgum standing outside of St. Paul's Chapel. And I go, hey, Governor. And his security team kind of like came to attention. And I go, well, it's me, Andrew Wilkow. And one of them goes, oh, that's because you were on his radio show. It's Andrew Wilkow. He goes, oh, hi. I go, do you know what this building is? And he looks over his shoulder and he goes, no. I go, this is where George Washington prayed before he took the oath of office. And he kind of made a stunned look. I said, if you walk right over there is Federal Hall, and if you go down that block, it's Francis Tavern, where he went drinking afterwards. So I said, so Governor, what are you doing here? He said, I'm here with the Teddy Roosevelt Presidential Library Committee. This is before he ran for president, and while apparently New York City is not going to build a Teddy Roosevelt Presidential Library, they're going to build it in North Dakota.
Not only are they going to build it in North Dakota, they built it. It's opening on July 4th. And let me tell you, I know the guy in charge.
Why wouldn't they build it in New York City?
That I don't know the answer, but I can tell you this. So this is why it's going in North Dakota, and I do think this is important. And I actually think that I always wonder why there isn't more Teddy Roosevelt stuff here in New York, because he obviously grew up here, and his family's here and his money's here. But Teddy Roosevelt's mother, this is a beautiful part of the story. His mother and his wife both die on the same day, on Valentine's Day. And Teddy Roosevelt is just overcome with grief. And he doesn't know what to do. He can't get over it. It's a devastation at a level he's never experienced. And he's buried his father, too, recently, before that. And he goes to their ranch out in North Dakota. And we all tell the stories of, Teddy Roosevelt's this macho guy, and he's a big stick, and he walks around and gets in fights. But he's not.
That's not who he is when he's growing up. He's actually a small kid. He's scrawny. He's little. He gets bullied a lot. He's sick a lot. He has asthma. No one knows what to do with him. He's so scared when he's little. His mother used to have to read to him to fall asleep. But at that moment, he goes out to his ranch in North Dakota, and he just lies there alone under the stars. Nothing out there but him and the wolves. And then is when he starts riding horses. And he's like, I'm not the best rider. He says in his autobiography, he's like, I just worked hard at it day after day, put 13 hours in the saddle. And if being out in nature teaches him anything, it's that success doesn't come from having natural gifts. It comes from how hard you work those gifts. And it's in North Dakota where he becomes that strong, rugged man we all tell the story of now. But like everything in America, we love a good story, but we don't want to hear the true part of it. And the truth of it is Teddy Roosevelt becomes the man who he is in North Dakota. And when the Teddy Roosevelt Presidential Library opens on July 4th, I believe this is true, every kid that walks in is going to get a copy of I Am Teddy Roosevelt. We've been working with the library, and we're in fact doing a fundraiser right now where we're putting one of those little free libraries. We're raising money. So anyone, go to our Instagram page to check it out. But you can get your kids drawn into our next book. You can, donate money and we'll put your family in the next hero book. But one of the things that we're doing is putting a Teddy Roosevelt little free library out in North Dakota, right by the Presidential Library. So you're going to like it out there more than you realize. But I do wonder why it didn't make New York City. What the hell was out there when he was going out there? And how the hell? I think Doug Burkham told me he took the train to the end of the line, literally, and that was North Dakota. What was there? What was there? He basically had his family. Listen, his family had a lot of money. They had a cattle ranch out there, and on their cattle ranch, he had this horse named Manitou, which was Iroquois for animal spirit. He just saw the buffalo, saw the wolves. The night, 50 below zero is recorded weather when he was out there. And it was his time among the rivers, among the plains, among the buffalo and the golden eagles, that he suddenly realized we have to champion the environment. And he realized that in Europe, they used to say that Gothic cathedrals and old castles were priceless. But when he goes out there to the Dakotas, he realizes our cliffs, rivers, forests, birds, wildlife, that they're just as valuable and breathtaking. And he, after that, when he becomes president, creates 5 national parks, 150 national forests, 50 federal bird preserves, 4 national game preserves, 18 national monuments, and saves over 250 million acres of American public lands. They're like, why are you doing this? Why are you, stopping building here on this public land? And he's like, because if I don't, you're going to plow it over and make a factory. And it's his time in North Dakota that makes him that conservation president. So if you go to the national parks and you love them, say a prayer and a thank you to Teddy Roosevelt. And I want my kids to know that too when they read this book, because that's where it comes from. Well, so you're telling me there isn't going to be an I Am Donald Trump book anytime soon? That's what you want me to write? Yeah, I think all presidents. I think Barack Obama's life is worth Joe Biden's life. I mean, every president brings something unique to, whether I agree or disagree. I think Biden lied about his life. I don't think he was ever scouted by the NFL, and I don't believe for a second that he witnessed 2 men kissing in front of the DuPont building, and his father was born in 1950 and told him love is love. I don't believe any of that. But I look at a presidential series. I would be interested in all the presidents. Like Chester. If I was doing a presidential series, I think in a strange odd way, you're always asking the questions. I mean, for me, it's never been about a presidential series. It's been about, to me, a hero is not, are you famous, or did you reach the presidency, or did you, are you the most well-known person? That, to me, is not the definition of a hero. To me, the definition of a hero, what you need to be in an I Am book is, how much you help other people and how much your life is something that you want your kids to emulate. And it's a different measure. You're 100% right. Every president has an incredible story. Love him or hate him, Bill Clinton has one of the greatest single mom stories of all time, right? But there's things that I'm like, that's not what I want my kid, doing something like. So I
hold it to almost like a different standard. And that standard to get one of the books in our series is you've got to put yourself, put other people and help them in some way. And some people help by inspiring. And, Amelia Earhart doesn't give a crap about anyone when she's flying her plane. She doesn't know what's going to inspire us, but it does. And some people like Mother Teresa, and they're, on their hands and knees feeding the poor. But at the end of the day, you got to help somebody and not make it about you. That to me is the ultimate measure.
All right, I got to take a break. You're always welcome on this program. BradMeltzer.com, the latest in the series of the I Am books, and you're going to get to 100, right?
That's the goal, baby. I'm at 39 with I Am Teddy Roosevelt, and I love that people build libraries for their kids and grandkids and nieces and nephews with them, and I thank you for always giving us a shot.
All right. I Am Teddy Roosevelt, the latest. OrdinaryPeopleChangeTheWorld.com is where you find the kids series. We'll talk soon.
Love you, brother.
All right. 1-695 Patriot 957-2874. We are right. They are wrong. That's the end of the story. The arguments on this radio program cannot be broken. Sirius XM Patriot.
Hey, it's me, Sebastian Maniscalco. If you're fed up or confused as I am, tune into the Sebastian Maniscalco Show. Every week, me and my longtime friend Pete Corielli get into it. Catch brand new episodes premiering every Tuesday with replays throughout the week on my exclusive Sirius XM station, Sebastian Maniscalco's Comedy Radio. What channel do you ask? 99. And on the Sirius XM app. Running a small business is a daily balancing act. One late shipment, one price hike, one employee issue, and your whole month, maybe the entire year, could be in trouble. That's where LendSeek comes in. I needed $100,000 fast to keep up with inventory demands. LendSeek had me funded the same day I applied. Between their AI platform finding the fastest deal and a dedicated funding specialist guiding the process, it couldn't have been easier. Our AI-driven platform matches your business with the right program from over 100 funders, up to $2 million in as fast as 24 hours. Don't wait until it's too late. If you've been in business at least 2 years with more than $500,000 in annual revenue, qualifying is simple. No collateral, no out-of-pocket costs, no hassle. From lines of credit, term loans to revenue-based financing, LendSeek is open for business. Apply in minutes at lendseek.com. That's LENDSEEK.com.
He's Donald Trump's #1 enemy in Congress, Chicago politician Dick Durbin. Now, Durbin has a new scheme. He's doing the dirty work to benefit corporate megastores. Durbin's bill could cut corners on your credit card security, putting your personal data at risk. Big chain retailers and warehouse stores want to inflate their profits, and liberal Dick Durbin would help them do it. Tell senators, say no to the megastores and Dick Durbin. Paid for by the Electronic Payments Coalition.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. Brian was a planner. He really wanted us to be taken care of if something happened to him. Brian and I came to the decision to get life insurance when I was pregnant with our first son. When I realized the policy was there, I felt relief. Life insurance helped me focus on healing. I could really focus on my kids and myself and trying to pick up a lot of the pieces of a world that was very broken at the time. He really provided for our family in life and also after his death. So I think that would make him proud. Ethos makes it fast and easy to get life insurance. Get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. You can get up to $3 million worth of coverage with no medical exam.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/apply. That's ethos.com/apply. Ethos.com/apply. Pay testimonial. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Sean Hannity. We live in the single best, greatest country God ever gave man. In your quiet, more reflective moments, you think of the sacrifice, the gifts. So many have sacrificed for our liberty, our freedom. What a blessing this is. I gotta say this. Thank God we live in the best country ever. And happy 250th birthday to the United States of America.
The Sean Hannity Show, weekdays starting at 3 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Patriot. Freedom never gets old. The world's biggest sporting event is on Sirius XM.
These are the moments you kind of define your legacy.
From the United States. What a start for the United States! To the defending champion.
Lionel Messi, and on
the car and on the Sirius XM app.
It's the world's greatest game because it's magic.
Previously on the Will Count Majority.
The United States endlessly imports 4 people on top of the 4 people we already have. Then Democrats in turn claim the only way to alleviate poverty is to endlessly redistribute wealth. Nobody has an obligation to pay more in taxes because the government allowed millions of people to cross the border.
Listen to past episodes of the Will Count Majority on the Sirius XM app.
You know, a lot of companies are suddenly pretending to care about patriotism, right? They're trying to cash in on America's 250th birthday this year, but Black Rifle Coffee didn't need a reminder. Since day one, BRCC has proudly celebrated America, her military, her flag, and the people who keep this country running every single day. That's not a seasonal campaign for them. It's the foundation the company was built on. Veteran-founded, American roasted. No gimmicks, no fake messaging. And this summer, they're bringing that patriotic energy everywhere with limited edition red, white, and blue commemorative bags for fan favorites like Just Black, which is what I brew in my house every morning, Beyond Black, and Spirit of 76. These are coffees built for early mornings before the rest of the house wakes up, long weekends at the lake, road trips with family, and cookouts that stretch into the night. Because patriotism isn't supposed to show up once every 250 years. It's supposed to mean something every day. Find the commemorative bags now at Walmart, your local grocery store, Black Rifle Coffee Shop, or order online at blackriflecoffee.com. Veteran-founded, American roasted. This is America's coffee.
Will Count Majority. Buy American. Bye-bye, America.
See, that was an example of 2 people that are friends and have a disagreement on President Trump. You know, I look at him with the First Step Act. I look at him protecting the border. I look at him putting American workers first. I see him ending the threat in Iran as what makes him the most effective president in my lifetime. That's it. That's how I see it. That doesn't mean I cast off anyone who has a different view. All right, let's do this. Let's have a little fun. Did you hear about the cross burning in Chicago? Let's see if MS Now is covering this. Let's see now, because I bet they aren't. What do you mean? It's a cross burning? No. Okay, let's see. Nothing about cross burnings here in. No, MS Now. No. Okay, let's see CNN. Mm-hmm. See CNN. Hold it. Nothing about a cross burning in Chicago. Why? If there was a cross burning, if the Klan, if the KKK came to a predominantly minority city with a black mayor and burned a cross, why haven't you heard anything about it? Remember, this is the city where 2 white men in MAGA hats were out at 1 o'clock in the morning in sub-zero temperatures with a noose and a bottle of bleach looking for a gay black man to assault. Why did you not hear the story? Bill, did you hear the story? Mike, did you hear? No one? You didn't hear a cross burning. If there was a cross burning in Chicago, wouldn't that be national news? Well, I'm going to tell you why it isn't. Are you ready for this? Headline, NBC5 Chicago, that's the local affiliate. Person of interest in Grant Park cross-burning incident speaks out. It was a startling and offensive scene. A burning cross in Grant Park, the century-old flaming symbol of racism and hatred. For nearly a week, Chicago police and the FBI have been trying to identify the man, do we know what a man is, who was suspected of setting up the cross and torching him. NBC5 Investigates has identified a 21-year-old college senior who said he is the person in the photo released by police who described what he did and why. The young shirtless man running from a burning cross in Grant Park had been a nameless person of interest in a Chicago police arson investigation and subject of a possible FBI hate crime case. NBC5 Investigates has since interviewed the man who admits to the cross burning. University of Illinois Chicago senior Merlin Liu who said he knew the implications of burning a cross, had placed a MAGA hat atop the cross, explaining his motivation was to protest the Trump administration and not something racist. So an Asian college student, not a white guy, was protesting Trump. So he burned a cross in a park in Chicago. That is why you've not heard this story at all. Because he wasn't a Trump supporter, it was a Trump protester. Because Trump supporters do not burn crosses, okay? But because they could not pin this on MAGA or Trump supporters or 21-year-old Asian college students, the story did not break nationally. Should I read the transcript? I could. But see, now, he's not going to be arrested. He's not going to be charged. He's not going to be charged with wasting public resources or even the hate crime itself. No. He was protesting Trump, so his cross burning is fine. Again, another hoax. For an entire week, the people of Chicago, the police department, and the FBI were looking for the racist, the white supremacist. Maybe he would have been funded by the Southern Poverty Law Center. I don't know. But they had the community on edge because a cross burning took place in Chicago. Now that we know it was another hoax, no harm, no foul, national story, just forget about it. YT695 Patriot 957-2874. We're going to wrap it up in the next segment. Hand it off to Sean Hannity, Mark Levin, Stacey Washington. We are right. They are wrong. That is the end of the story. The arguments on this radio program cannot, will not, will never be broken. SiriusXM Patriot. Hi, I'm John Kasich, the former Ohio governor, and I have a brand new show on SiriusXM. I think I need to bring a little hope to the country. I mean, we will talk about politics, a little bit about faith. We're going to talk about culture, and that could be anything from a great rock star to a priest to who knows, and at the same time, discover some meaningful things that will help us as we go forward each and every day. The John Kasich Show on POTUS Channel 124 and anytime on the Sirius XM app. Wesley Financial Services not offer. Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. For 15 years, I've helped over 50,000 families cancel their timeshare. Not sell it, not transfer it, cancel it. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment and your maintenance fees would never go up? That's a lie. Are you ready to get rid of your timeshare once and for all? Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation. Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-848-1331. That's 800-848-1331. 800-848-1331. Got a backyard project you love to paint? For over 50 years, BP Racing Fuels has dominated racetracks around the world. Did you know your trimmer, chainsaw, or blower is a little air-cooled race engine, making BP Racing Fuels the logical choice to fuel it? Our specially formulated fuels promote smooth first starts and longer performing engine life. Available now at all your local retailers. Don't let low-quality fuels stall your weekend. When it matters most, choose BP Racing Small Engine Fuels. This is a special alert from CarShield for every driver with a vehicle under 200,000 miles. If your warranty is expiring or you have no coverage, listen up. We're hitting the time of year when the heat exposes every weak point in your car. I'm talking about air compressors and radiators and the summer stressors that leave drivers stranded. Because of the decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan available now. Call CarShield today to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. With their price lock, your rate stays the same even as your car gets older. You'll also get free roadside assistance and towing at no extra cost. Call 800-619-6488 or go to carshield.com What do you have to lose? That's 800-619-6488 or carshield.com/willcount. Coverage varies by plan, view contracts and exclusions at carshield.com.
Hey, Tim, what's wrong?
Somebody brake checked our truck. Their claims chaser attorney thinks his neck needs $50,000 to feel better.
And?
Now we have to go to court, negotiate with insurance.
No, wait, Tim. We have Samsara now. Dual-facing AI dash cams give us clear video, and instant retrieval means we can pull footage fast before they change the story.
So instead of ruining my quarter,
You just send the footage to legal.
visit samsara.com/today to reduce risk and stop false claims with clear evidence.
Stacey, Washington.
I was never meant to be a radio host. It's a daily recognition of the freedom of being a woman, a Black woman in America today. And that happens because of merit and talent as opposed to right of kings, right of birth, or some other fluke that could never be mine if I were somewhere else.
Stacey on the Right, weeknights starting at 9 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Patriot.
Never gets old. Color your day in calmer shades with Mosaic. A collage of relaxing 90s and 2000s. Hits to melt your stress away. Mosaic, channel 305 on most radios and on the Sirius XM app. Included with most subscriptions.
Life moves fast between work stress and everything else on your plate. The last thing you want is to question your performance in the bedroom. Look, if things are not working like they used to, you are not alone and you do not have to settle. Rougiet offers personal treatments to help you get hard, stay hard, and feel confident when it matters most. Their doctors work with you to find something that fits your body, and their best-selling treatment, Rougiet Ready, is a mint that dissolves under your tongue and combines 3 clinically proven ingredients. It helps increase blood flow and get your mind and body ready fast. Most men feel results in about 15 minutes, but effects that can last for 36 hours. If staying in control is the issue, Rougiet Goes Long helps you last longer and stay in control. Over 400,000 men have already made the switch, and getting started is simple. Connect with a board-certified doctor online, and your treatment ships discreetly to your front door. Go to Rougiet.com/lockout for 15% off. Rougiet.com/lockout for 15% off. That's RUGIET.com/lockout. Rougiet, performance medicine for men.
You're listening to the Will Cow Majority, and who will cow is all talk.
Yeah, this is a cool. You know what? I was never a big Collective Soul fan, but the opening riff to this song is really cool, isn't it? This is a guitar player's riff. All right, so one or two clips of audio. I got to get some calls here. Gavin Newsom would like you to think that big bad bully Trump is coming after him. Play cut 6.
In recent days, federal agents have knocked on the doors of family, friends, and former employees. Not because they found a crime, because they're simply trying to find one. They're demanding records. They're abusing the grand jury process, digging through years and years of random documents. Donald Trump isn't just coming after me because of my mean tweets. He's coming after me because I'm considering running for president. Because he hates that I've consistently called him out over and over again for his lies and deceit. Donald Trump is simply the most corrupt president in American history. He's turned the levers of government into his own personal power ministries to reward cronies and to try to jail his opponents. His personal attorney now runs the Department of Justice, which has repeatedly gone after his political enemies. Ask Jerome Powell. Sent them after James Comey, Tish James, Adam Schiff. He sent them after Tim Walz, and a woman that a jury found Donald Trump had sexually abused. One by one, anyone who has challenged Donald Trump has ended up on his hit list. And today, I proudly join that list. After Calling for my arrest last year, Donald Trump directed his Department of Justice to investigate me.
Slick here is lying. Headline, Reuters. You trust Reuters if you're a Democrat? Newsom accuses Trump of directing Justice Department to investigate him. Quote, federal law enforcement officers in Sacramento, California have been conducting several investigations related to the governor, including his wife. Since 2025, a person familiar with the matter said, speaking on the condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to speak publicly, that person added the investigation did not originate in Washington, but in California. So this didn't happen because of Trump. It was happening in the state of California. And what Reuters reports is basically a side-by-side comparison of donations to his wife's NGO or nonprofit, aligned with people seeking business contracts with the state of California. So it sounds like in order to get Gavin Newsom to write you a contract for state business, you have to put money in his wife's organization, which was being investigated by the state of California in 2025, not by the Trump administration. So, Gav, you're lying. Y6695 Patriot 957-2874. Mark, Colorado. Go ahead, you evil, heartless bastard.
You're right. Love your show, Andrew. Listening to that Colorado law thing, it got me thinking, what if a handful of big burly dudes were to dress up in drag and call themselves trans for the day and go into a mosque?
No. You're violating the rule. You're violating the rules of this. Nobody goes into a halal bakery and demands a same-sex wedding cake. The activists only do that to Christians.
Well, then we'll just get the right people to go do it. If we want to test to see if Colorado's serious about their law.
No. You got to remember, Muslims might be part of that protected class. So, you can't have one protected class versus another protected class.
But the trans people are protected too, aren't they?
Yeah, I guess, but I don't know who gets more protection.
Oh, okay.
I would guess trans, but I could be wrong.
Well, I love your show. Have a good one.
Thank you. No one ever sticks a microphone in somebody in a Muslim's face and asks them about LGBTQ stuff. You ever notice that? They only do it to Christians. Joe, Long Island, you were on the Will Count Majority. Go ahead, you evil, heartless bastard.
Nice to talk to you. I just want to mention the last guest, Teddy Roosevelt. I'm 80 years old. When I was a kid, I grew up in Manhattan. My father used to send me to North Dakota to his sister's farm to work every summer to get me out of the city. But as I was growing up, I visited the Museum of Natural History numerous times when I was young. And I will never set foot in that museum again since they took down that fabulous statue of Teddy on the front steps. That's all I got to say.
They have removed Thomas Paine from Thomas Paine Park. They have removed Teddy Roosevelt from the Museum of Natural History. By the way, I will say this. Look, there are 101 reasons to hate New York City. The Museum of Natural History is really, really cool.
Picking up a few more cameras.
Yeah, it was until they did that. Gary, North Carolina, you were on the Will Count Majority. Go ahead, you evil, heartless bastard.
Yes, sir. Good to talk to you, man. You do an excellent job.
Thank you.
The show.
Thank you.
I can't help but be totally disagreeable with the last guy that talked with so much compassion about the presidents and stuff. The whole time I'm hearing him, I'm thinking, oh my God, man, if we had generals that were that soft, can you imagine Patton being a soft, compassionate,
You know what? That I should have asked him that. I'm going to ask him, I Am George Patton would be a great book.
Yes, sir. I mean, if he'd have been that soft, compassionate guy, we'd have got our asses handed to us. And and not only that, Donald Trump, his first time was not enough bulldog, and look what happened to him. I think he learned from his first 4 years that the second year he better be the meanest dog on the lot, or they're going to eat him alive. So he ain't really had a choice, has he?
No, and again, I am, look, even if it makes friends question me, I am supportive of this president in just about all aspects of how he conducts himself.
Well, I just feel like he is finally given the. You can tell I'm probably just a Southern redneck, but he's finally given us a reason to be proud of this freaking country again. And I think there's a ton of us out here that feel the same way.
Well, you know, people that
I didn't realize he was
or have you. So basically, if you know the rest of the world has been taking advantage of us with a smile, we should just smile back. No, I love that this president has broken some norms and told some people to go flip off. You know, I like that.
Absolutely.
And
otherwise, we'd be sending them another plane load of cash, bro.
Yeah, if somebody doesn't like that I say that, okay, fine. I'm still going to say it. I like the way this president does business. I like the fact that he proudly just, they say, well, that UFC event was inappropriate. I'm sorry, drag queens parading around the White House, that to me is inappropriate. So maybe we agree to disagree.
100%, brother. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I figured he did. He's had it for a bit, hasn't he?
Hannity is up next. Then Levin, Stacey Washington.
Lambeau Field, huh? He's up in Green Bay, huh?
That's the end of the story. The arguments.
Was he live?
The program cannot be broken. Sirius XM Patriot. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Now, if a family member or friend asked you for financial advice or where to go for tax help, what would you send them?
Yeah, I'm going to need the phone just to do the thing, but I'll go live again on the way home. Hopefully this doesn't take nearly as long as last time.
Years gone by, or if you are a business owner and you're behind on your payroll taxes,
how it was.
Call my friends at Rush Tax Resolution today.
Not bad at when I popped in. I'm not getting notifications for him again. I'm going to have to
family and or your company in jeopardy. Now, there are a lot of imposters out there.
Unsub and resub. Sometimes that works. Like I said, I haven't not been getting notifications for him lately.
They have protected so many of my listeners.
Oh, you got it back on Monday? Oh, okay.
Save them a ton of money. Call Rush Tax now for a free IRS transcript investigation, and they'll tell you upfront and for free if they can help you. They will only take your case if they know they can help you, period. 800-258-7050. 800-258-7050. RushTaxResolution.com.
When an earache strikes, you need relief fast. Introducing Earache RX pain relieving eardrops from Dr. Easy, the makers of.
All right, let me. I'm gonna
4% lidocaine.
raid somebody.
Eardrops have real medicine, the maximum strength available without a prescription. Strong enough for adults, yet gentle enough for kids. Earache RX eardrops are perfect.
Let me raid somebody. Figure out who.
Get fast relief.
I'll go live again.
Contact. Don't wait for an earache to strike. Get the power of real medicine. Get Earache RX.
For kids, KARS Cards for Kids, 1-877 Cards for Kids. Donate.
Sirius XM Patriot 125. Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Republican Governor Mike DeWine today said that his state should abolish the death penalty.
I no longer believe the death penalty is a deterrent to murder. The moral justification I had for voting for the death penalty simply no longer exists.
DeWine has repeatedly postponed scheduled executions in the state over his 7 years as governor. With a deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, how long now before fuel
it's the law.
Questions remain about when a fifth of the world's crude oil will start flowing again.
We've been in this situation before where there's a deal that may be imminent, but then it falls apart.
Gasped by the analyst Patrick DeHaan.
It's still too early to say the coast is clear.
Bryce Borton was at the gas pump in Columbus, Ohio, where price drops in the oil market have yet to reach consumers.
It's definitely hitting the pocketbook, and it's obviously hitting the price of groceries and everything else as well.
Oil producers that throttle back will need time, and Lloyd's analyst Richard Mead says the shipping sector is not rushing.
Asmongold? Do you think Asmongold will take a raid?
Estimates that by September, energy flows
see if his page will allow it.
at pre-war levels. I'm Jennifer King.
On Wall Street, it's a mixed bag. The Dow Jones Industrial Average doing quite well. It's up 408 points. The NASDAQ is down 181. The FBI's released a report on the arrests of suspects who tried to attack the White House over the weekend.
FBI Director Kash Patel says multiple arrests were made by the agency as it disrupted planned attacks targeting the White House UFC show. The nature of the potential threat has not been disclosed.
I'll fire it back up on the way home.
Once charges are unsealed. A law enforcement official familiar with the matter says 5 people have been arrested from states including Ohio, Missouri, and California.
Yep, it'll work. Okay, I'll see you in a bit. Hopefully this doesn't take me too long. Thanks for hanging out, bud.
The Secret Service says it worked around
Tell them I sent you.
those responsible and hold them accountable. Haya Kunchwani, Washington.
More at townhall.com. Eczema, eczema, eczema. So many ads for eczema products. But those fancy TV ads don't mention